while you guys are answering that question, I'm going to go ahead because we just have a couple minutes left, and I want to talk about the other option that states have and that parties have in terms of trying to decide who they're going to choose from this field of candidates. The other thing that you can do is you can do a caucus. The McGovern-Fraser Commission really encouraged the use of primaries, and as a result, far more states do primaries than a caucus. Which state is famous for their caucus? Iowa, because they're always first. But I got to tell you that attendance at the Iowa caucus is really low. You know, generally speaking, less people go to a caucus than go to a primary, and we'll kind of talk about why in a second. I know that Nevada does a caucus. In Texas, the Texas Democrats use a combination. They use a primary and a caucus, so it's a little bit weird, but they both have the same objective. Okay, Alice, what was the objective of the primary? What was the purpose of having a primary? Yeah, so it's for the party to choose the candidate that will run in the general election. The caucus is no different, okay? It's just a different methodology of doing it, okay? So if the primary was an election, a caucus is a meeting, right? Look at that picture. You got like all these people sitting in a high school gym, raising their hand, talking. So a caucus, in essence, was where a group of people come together to express their will publicly in a meeting. So since the Iowa caucus is famous, it gets a lot of attention, and I'm going to show you a video clip of how it works. This is one from a couple years ago. Understand that it doesn't have to be done this way. This is how Iowa does it. But another caucus could be different, but this is the basic idea.
By now, everyone knows that in a presidential year, Iowans cast the first votes that count. But few outside the state have a handle on how this quirky and complicated system works, except our senior political correspondent, Jeff Greenfield, who knows it well and will explain it to us all.
Well, Katie, this campaign night, what happens here is no delegates are selected to the national conventions. Instead, this is a popularity contest, in effect, and the two parties do it in radically different ways. Both parties hold caucuses in each of Iowa's 1,781 precincts. They might be in a school, a church, a library, even a home. But that's where the similarity ends.
She's going to lead our nation with conservative principles. I'm excited to support.
The Republican process is simple, as this caucus training video shows. You show up at 7 p.m. Declare you are a registered Republican. If not, you can register right then and there. And short speeches by candidates' backers.
It's just a blank sheet of paper. You simply write down the name, and that's collected, and you're done.
A secret ballot, a straight-up count. The candidate with the most votes wins. A model of simplicity. But the Democrats, not so much.
The registration line is nearing an end.
Democrats show up at 6:30. The doors close at 7. And then, instead of a secret ballot, caucus goers publicly declare their choices by moving into different corners of the room, into presidential preference groups.
And he's got so much enthusiasm out there that it's unbelievable.
There shouldn't even be any more.
As this 2004 caucus in Adair shows, you have to stand up in front of perhaps your boss or spouse and declare your choice. Doesn't that raise the possibility of intimidation?
It is neighbors talking to neighbors about who they're selecting for their nominee. It is free and it is open and you are there of your own volition.
A head count is taken, and, critically, a candidate must achieve a certain level of support, usually 15%, to achieve viability. So if there are 50 people in the room, you must have at least 8 in your corner to be viable. You might think of this as a first step in an elimination round. If your candidate is declared not viable, you can either go home or realign, joining up with a candidate who has survived by moving into another corner of the room.
You know what?
What happens then is something between earnest debate and old-fashioned horse trading, as in 2004 when backers of John Kerry and John Edwards argued and pleaded with backers of Howard Dean to join up with them.
So I think we can sway the Dean people over to the church.
Once realignment is done, a final head count is made, and each precinct awards delegates not to the national conventions, but to the Iowa Democratic County Conventions. Drake University professor Dennis Goldford does his best to explain.
The number of the people in the preference group times the number of delegates that precinct sends to the county convention, divided by the total number of caucus participants in that precinct.
Right. What really matters, what everybody will be talking about, of course, is the final statewide percentages for Clinton, Edwards, Obama, and all the other Democrats.
Meanwhile, Jeff, after all the money, the messages, the media, the endless polls, what do you expect will make a headline out of here?
The unexpected. A measurable win-or-loss for one of the Democrats, a surge by somebody like John McCain or Fred Thompson, and also the what do we now? We may see as many as 4 candidates drop out of this race after Iowa.
All right, we'll talk about it more tomorrow night. Jeff Greenfield, thanks so much.
Okay, so we'll get to the importance of the Iowa caucus next class because that's really significant, some things you said at the end. But like what I want to do is just make sure that you guys understand like the difference in that caucus and that primary, okay? So if that caucus is basically just like, well, first of all, what do you think of the caucus? It's dumb, it's weird, what's weird about it?
Just like the way they do it, like they can't just sit down and like
So it seems very strange. Annalise?
It's almost like you have like team captains and you're training for a kickball team. Like it's like you have to go to one area, or like you have to decide. Like it's kind of elementary.
Right.
Almost.
Right. You can probably see why people are less likely to participate in a caucus because it kind of involves like more like investment and time. Are there any of you that would prefer a caucus? Kidding. Come on, somebody make a case for me that the caucus, Crystal, I can see. You think what's the value in it?
It's simple. Like it's like less time consuming, whereas you would have to take a whole lot of papers. Like, oh wait.
I just mean the caucus versus the primary. So like if you had an option to go, log in, touch a computer screen, vote and walk out, or to go to this kind of meeting where you're going to sit with people, you're going to talk. Go ahead.
Like if you want to, if you're not sure about the person that you want to vote, you get to hear other people's perspectives.
Okay. Good. So it's very democratic and deliberative. Sean?
You're more informed on the presidential candidates than you are in a primary.
Okay. Why?
Because you're sitting down and talking with people and you're getting to hear directly from the back of the candidate.
How do I get informed about candidates if I'm going to vote in a primary and I'm not going to talk? The internet. So I'm relying on media sources. I have to do my own research, or I'm relying on the media. And yeah, we're going to talk about being critical of the media, right? So there might be some kind of issues there. Okay, everybody pay attention here. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do, all right? For next class, we'll just kind of pick up where we left off. You guys are actually going to have a primary and have a caucus. And we're going to see if it results in the same kind of situation, because it might actually affect a different kind of candidates that will be won. We did not answer question 1, but you should be able to, at this point, be able to answer question 1. So for homework, I want you to make sure that you answer the question on the back of your calendar. You have some reading on your calendar, page 373 to 378. That is not due until next week. It's reading about campaign finance, but it's tricky, so you might definitely want to take some notes. Remember, your class application grade is next week. You have an FRQ next week, and you have a test. So we got a lot of things coming, okay? All right. Sounds good.